Welcome to the Gottman series where we're looking at the four horsemen. We are looking at criticism, contempt, defensiveness, which is often a response for contempt, and on this section we're going to talk about stonewalling. We hear a lot of complaints about this.
Yeah.
You know, just no engagement by one party. What have you typically seen with this, with the people you work with?
A lot of times by the time it hits this point, it's either someone's checked out, or sometimes I see it actually when someone's not checked out, they don't know how to communicate. You know, maybe they had an overly critical person in their life somewhere else, and it just shuts them down when they perceive criticism.
Okay. Yeah, and I have had some guys I've worked with talk about this where I had one guy, well, when we get into an argument, my wife just doesn't want to hear anything, will then turn and leave, you know, just walk out. And the funny thing is, when he worked on himself and corrected a few things, they were having an argument one time, and he realized he was kind of in the wrong and screwing up. So he stopped. And she stormed off.
Mm-hmm.
And then he apologized. And lo and behold, because she wasn't feeling attacked at that point, he acknowledged he was wrong. She didn't stonewall. She then re-engaged lovingly.
Yeah.
And they ended up having a good conversation, and they went and had something they went to go do after that. I think it is a lot of times a last ditch. I don't know how else to deal with it.
Yeah.
And like you said, they're kind of overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe women use this tactic more than men, from what I've perceived.
That may be true.
60-40?
I think it's slightly shifted that direction, yeah.
Yeah. Now, when we work with guys, I think it takes time for them to realize things are changing with the guys, and we see less of this, but I do say this is a technique. This in contempt I see a lot of. Mm-hmm. The women who are done, who are more of the problem in the relationship, they use a lot of contempt. They're disrespectful as hell. You try to talk to them about anything that involves them, you know, they don't have time for that. They just...
See, the first two in this series, I think those are, you know, kind of more the early stages.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's why we see more of the, you know, stonewalling and the defensiveness, is because by the time it gets to that point, people are going, I think I need help. Yeah.
And, yeah, if you just would learn not to be critical, well, that's not the way... Mm-hmm. You know, it doesn't matter who used to do it or what, you know. Same thing, and I would caution all of the men, don't compare your kids. Don't be critical. Don't criticize your kids comparing them to their brother or sister. So when I used to go to parent-teacher conferences, so my daughter was the straight A student plus, you know, and my son was the B student because he had a life, and he was, not that my daughter didn't, but he was like, a B is enough.
Yeah.
And I could still do everything else I'm doing, sports, friends. And I'd go to parent-teacher conferences, and they'd go, and if they talked about my daughter for, she's great, straight A's, da-da-da-da-da. And then they'd go, love William, great young man, has a B, could have an A if you choose to work harder. And I never was critical of that because, one, straight A's didn't serve a purpose.
Right.
And he was smart enough.
I was so afraid you were going to say that the teachers were comparing.
No. But I always made it a point. I never compared them because there were two completely different personalities, and they were both great kids.
Yeah.
And one focused more on academics. Mm-hmm. And one was also sports. And, you know, as somebody who was a late bloomer educationally, I might not have had a very impressive high school career. I bloomed in college. I understood. He was doing what needed to be done. He wasn't going to put in an extra 10 hours to get an A when a B was good enough.
Yeah.
And I think I've seen this a lot over the years. Personally,
Right.
people talk about being compared to their siblings all
Right.
the time.
Now, also, guys, don't compare your kids to you at the same age.
Ooh, good point. It's a different world, too.
Yeah, totally different. You are different people. It's just about different people. But that kind of thing can lead to, a person who doesn't know how to handle conflict. And that's kind of leads into the stonewalling.
Well,
sometimes.
Should you ever be criticizing your kids or talking to them with contempt?
Oh, no.
They're kids. Guess what? They're supposed to make mistakes and screw
Yeah.
up. It's part of the learning process. And when you have lovingly been, and this is a little off topic, we've gotten to the point where we've forgotten failure is a part of the process of learning.
Right.
And so everyone's so tied up and you can't fail. That's how you learn. That's how you learn to succeed. That's part of the process. So with your kids especially, don't be critical. Don't talk to them with contempt, because guess what? They're your kids.
Yeah.
And
you don't want them to, have some of the same challenges that you're having with, communication. And, when you get into that stonewalling, you were saying earlier something that you tell your guys, if you need to take a break, right? That's okay.
Especially in a heated conversation, if you need to say, you know what, I need to think about this for a little bit, or I'm getting a little frustrated, I want to take a break, nothing wrong with that.
Right.
In fact, I would encourage it.
Yeah.
However, if you ask for the break, I tell the guys, you've got to re-engage within 48 hours, or otherwise it looks like you're blowing it off, and at a certain point, you are blowing it off. So if you need an hour or two, or 20 minutes, or a day or so, because it's a significant issue, nothing wrong with that. But again, if you've had a pattern of avoidance,
and I would kind of add to that what I see a lot is you've got one partner who's kind of got that anxious attachment. They need to solve it right now.
Ooh,
and
good point.
So when you need to take that break, they see it as an abandonment, or it's going to be swept under the rug and not going to get dealt with. So their anxiety is crazy high, right? So if you need to take a break, I tell my people, that's fine, but you need to have an agreement on when you're coming back to address it. And the person who is the one that needs to take a break is the one that needs to break that ice and bring it up again.
Yeah, so same thing. And I never thought about it from the attachment side. That's a great point.
Yeah.
So, all right. These are the 4 horsemen. Hopefully you have found this helpful. Stop the criticism. No contempt. You don't get to the 3rd and 4th stages of stonewalling and defensiveness that way.
It's true.
So, all right, guys. Have a great one. We'll see you next time.